Hello everyone, my name is Brian, but you can call me the Bugler, and today we're going to be talking about the Gunslinger Hunter's grenades and which super is better for what situation. The Gunslinger Hunter has access to the Incendiary grenade, the Swarm grenade, and the Tripmine grenade. When we talk about them, we're going to be covering what special properties they may have and how much damage they do to a single target. Then, we're going to discuss when they are best utilized, starting with the Incendiary grenade. The Incendiary grenade for the Hunter works in exactly the same way as it does for the Sunbreaker Titan. On impact, it will deal 7 damage, but I wasn't nearly creative enough when I tested it for the Sunbreaker. You see, if you throw the grenade in a nice enough way, you can actually stack that impact damage, which you'll see now. This also lands the grenade at the exact point in which you can do the maximum amount of damage, which in this case is 690 on the explosion, followed by 5 ticks of 42 damage each. This deals the maximum amount of damage possible, at 970 damage. I was also able to replicate this with my Sunbreaker, thereby taking his max as well. We're on to the minimum next, but keep in mind that the damage numbers you may see against different enemies may not line up with what is done here. All my testing is done against the modular mine for consistency's sake. In this case, you'll see we deal 272 damage plus 5 ticks of 42. The damage falloff for this grenade is severe, however, the burn damage is consistent no matter how far away the explosion targets the enemy. This grenade is excellent for crowd control. As you can see, you'll be able to take out entire platoons of enemies with a single throw. It's the only grenade that the Gunslinger Hunter has access to that can do it to such an effect. Up next is the Swarm grenade. This can be used as a crowd control device or a single target attack, although it's much better at single targets. When you throw the grenade, it will split into 9 mini grenades, which will last for 7 seconds before they start exploding. Each grenade will try to search out enemies in its immediate proximity and fly to them to deal damage. Let's take a look at its single target max. Here you'll see that when we throw the grenade, it splits into its 9 miniature grenades. Each one deals impact damage as well as multiple cases of explosive damage for a grand total of 877 damage to the modular mine. That's not too bad, considering you don't have to do much thinking when you throw this grenade. Of course, the tracking does have limits. If you throw the grenade just outside their proximity range, you'll see that some of the grenades don't quite fly to the target, and in this case, we get one just on the outside of the proximity inch its way towards our enemy. Moving right along, we have the Tripmine grenade. When you throw this grenade, it lasts for 10 seconds before it explodes, or it will detonate when an enemy steps into its range. You can remember how long the grenade will last based on the amount of ticks that you hear. You'll hear 6 ticks before it finally explodes. This is good to keep in mind during PvP games. The Tripmine grenade can deal very high single target damage. The only problem is the damage radius of the grenade is only represented by the lines that you see coming out of it. So where I sit right now, you'll see I'm immune to the explosion. I'm not damaged at all, so you'll really have to make sure when you throw this, enemies will be moving through the red lines. Here's a fun fact for you. In Destiny 1, you were able to stick the Tripmine grenade onto enemies. In Destiny 2, that's not so much the case. Sometimes you can stick the Tripmine on enemies, and sometimes you can't. I couldn't really figure out a rhyme or reason to it. But in this case, when I stick the modular mine, I deal quite a few ticks of 14 damage, 11 to be exact, as well as an increased amount of damage of 1104, for a grand total of 1258. That's the highest single target damage that we've tested for the Gunslinger. However, you can see when we're outside of the range of the grenade, it deals a pitiful 55 damage. Now remember when I mentioned sticking the grenade to enemies? Of course you do. Well, let's take a look at some times when that doesn't work. First, we have a case where the grenade just straight up bounces off the enemy. And then we have a case where the grenade gets stuck in some sort of gravity loop, deals a whole bunch of impact damage, and then deals explosive damage. And finally, we have... well, just see for yourself. This grenade deals high damage, but just be careful when you're using it. Let's compare the two skill trees now. We're going to talk about the Way of the Outlaw first, and the skills that we're going to be specifically talking about are the melee abilities and the super modifiers. The other skill in both trees affects your neutral game, and the neutral game I can't really quantify that well because it all depends on your playstyle. So first, we're going to talk about the exploding knife. The exploding knife behaves exactly as it did in the beta, which, in a word, would be weird. You'll see the explosion deals 199 damage to this enemy, and that number is the same for the explosion no matter what enemy you throw it at as long as they are the same light. Even against the modular mind, when we do less damage with a critical knife throw, we still deal 199 explosive damage. Moving on to the super modifier. Here, our super duration will be halved to 6 seconds, but we'll be given 6 shots in our golden gun at a little bit reduced damage. Normally with the base golden gun, we deal 897 a shot. For 3 shots, that gives us 2,691. Here, with 6 shots at 759, we deal 4,554 damage, a net increase of about 1.7 times. And then we have Deadshot, a skill that significantly increases your ability to hit with the golden gun. But how can you quantify something like that? Well, I have it on camera for you, so take a look. Yeah, I'd call that pretty significant. Let's take a look at another example I have for you to show you just how significant this increase in accuracy is. First, a quick note. When you activate the golden gun with Deadshot, you seem to snap easier to targets, which is significant, but I can't really quantify it. This I can capture. This I can see. All joking aside though, this is the super that you want to choose if you're looking to control ads. The other one is all about single target damage, so let's move on. First, we'll briefly touch the knife juggler melee attack for the way of the Sharpshooter. This skill is exactly the same as the explosive knife except without the explosion, and the amount of utility that you get out of it depends on your ability to get precision kills with it. Then we'll talk about the 2 modifiers for the super. Like I said, this knife deals the same damage as the explosive knife except without the explosion, so to the modular mind we deal 323 precision damage. That's it. But where you'll get the real damage is from the 2 super modifiers, Crowd Pleaser and Line 'em Up. Here, when we hit all 3 shots, we'll deal 6,587 damage to the modular mind. This is about 1.5 times more damage than we do with the 6-shooter modifier for the previous skill tree. And thanks to Line 'em Up, if we hit those first 2 critical hits as soon as possible, we have a super that can last up to 23 seconds, as opposed to the pitiful 6 seconds that 6-shooter will last. This is your single target damage winner by a landslide. It's also your orb creating winner. Thanks to Crowd Pleaser, we create 2 orbs on critical hits no matter what kind of enemy. This is the only super in the game thus far that I have tested that I can get 8 orbs of light with reliably. I believe that the cap is 7, but this is the only time I've seen 8 so far. In most cases, I would put the way of the Sharpshooter as the winning skill tree. And that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about how I tested things, why I showed something or why I didn't show something, let me know in the comments and I'd be happy to answer you. And if you didn't like the video, make sure you downvote it and let me know in the comments what I can do to make a better video for you next time. In my next video, I'll be covering the 2nd Striker Titan skill tree, followed by a Striker Titan grenade breakdown. After that will be the 2nd Sentinel Titan skill tree, and then a Sentinel Titan grenade breakdown. And finally, I'm going to do a Titan complete breakdown, where I'll cover which super from which skill tree is best for what situation. And I'll explain to you how to get the most out of your Titan. You should expect these videos over the next 2 weeks, provided I don't run into any surprises. So once again, thanks for watching, I hope I see you next time, and good luck getting through the exclusion zone.